What is up, guys? It is your boy Motard Steve, and today we're going to be bringing you another how-to for beginners video. And today we're going to be talking about how to do stoppies or endos, whatever you may call them. Now, let me just go ahead and preface this video by saying that I do not consider myself an expert. I do not consider myself even like an intermediate. I'm basically like an average or amateur, I guess. I can roll, I want to say about a good maybe 20, 30 feet maybe. I don't really consider myself amazing at it until I'm rolling like 100, 150 feet like some of the stunt guys are on the Groms. But that being said, the techniques I will be showing you will apply to any bike. They will not just apply to the Grom. You do not have to have a Grom to apply these techniques. These techniques will work on any bike that you have. A couple things you're going to want to keep in mind before you start doing stoppies. Number one, you want to make sure your front brakes are pretty solid. You want to make sure your brake pads aren't worn. You want to make sure they bite decently. Good thing about the Groms over the Z125s is they have a 2-piston caliber versus the 1. So the Grom's front brakes are a lot stronger than the Z125s, which means it's going to be easier to do stoppies on these. Next thing you need to keep in mind is, unlike wheelies, there is no way to save you from going over the bars. You know, in a wheelie, you've got the rear brake, and that will usually set the front tire back down for you because it's like a pendulum effect. Well, when you're rolling on the front, there's nothing to throw you backwards because all your momentum's going that way. So you're at the mercy of gravity. So bear that in mind when you're practicing or when you're trying to learn these. Do not go too hard too soon, if you know what I mean, because you'll end up on your face. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started with how to do a stoppie. Now, you don't really have to be going super fast to get the front wheel off the ground. Literally, I can go 10 miles per hour and I can get the rear tire off the ground, which that's probably where you want to start with, because that was kind of like wheelies. You got to get used to the rear tire being up in the air. So see, 10 miles per hour, snatch the brake. It will come up. And at 10 miles per hour, you're really not going to have that much speed unless you really smash the brake to flip over the bars. So now you can go 10 miles per hour, snatch the brake, rear tire will come up. Granted, you're not going to roll very far, but we'll talk about that later. So you can just roll around, get used to that feeling of the rear tire coming up off the ground. If it helps you, you can try dangling your feet. But just try to get used to that feeling. Now, once you've kind of gotten used to that feeling, you're going to want to go faster, because the key to rolling a stoppie is all about momentum and getting up close to balance point really quick. Now, once you get the speed down, I want to say start about maybe 20 miles per hour. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to kind of lean over your bars a little bit. You don't have to stand up out of the seat, but you can a little bit. You want to lean up over the bars, and then at the same time, you want to kind of shift your weight down and forwards and push through the bars, kind of at a diagonal like angle. And at the same time, you're going to want to squeeze the front brake. So to give you guys a little example of this, go about 20. Right there. Now, I only rolled maybe 10, 15 feet. And at first, you may not roll very far. Now, if you end up doing something like this, where you just kind of like don't get up in the air and you don't like feel the rear tire lift off the ground, that means you got to be a little bit more aggressive on the brake. Now, like I said, just take baby steps when you're trying to do this. Also, bear in mind that if you're going downhill, like if your parking lot is sloped downhill, your stoppie's going to come up significantly easier than it is on flat ground, or if you're going uphill. Just like it's the opposite of wheelies. If you try to wheelie uphill, it's easier. Try to stoppie downhill, it's easier. So bear that in mind. But it's all about speed. Pull the clutch in, brake. Now, just like wheelies, the closer you get to balance point, the less brake input you're going to need. Of course, with wheelies, we're talking about throttle, but it's the same way with stoppies. The higher you get to that balancing point, the less brake you're going to need to keep yourself there, which is also key to rolling them farther. is getting the rear tire up to balance point really quick. Because if you waste too much brake trying to get up the balance point, the whole time you're on the front brake, you're slowing down. And if you're like under balance point and you're on the brakes, you're not going to go very far. But once you get towards balance point and you ease a little bit up on the brake, you'll roll for pretty much as long as you want. So just to break it down for you guys, you're going to roll about 20. So you're going to roll at 20, pull the clutch in, front brake. And just like body posture matters in a wheelie, it matters in a stoppie as well. You don't want to try to like be like this, because if you don't lean into it, it's very important that you remember to kind of put pressure down on the bars and lean over the front of the bike, because it's going to help you. It's the same way with sitting a little further back on the seat and leaning back into a wheelie. The weighting the front is going to help the rear come up a lot easier. And then the key to getting them higher is just more speed and just more seat time and getting it up towards balance point as quick as you can, which is just going to come with practice, man. So for instance, we're going to try to roll 30 miles per hour and see how far we can go. Alright, so I let off the brake there a little bit because I got a little sketched out. 30. Roll significantly further. There's a bump there. That's what throws me off. That's another thing. Before you pick a lot of these stoppies in, make sure there's no bumps or anything like that, because if you hit a bump and it causes you to nudge your brake, you could flip. That's one thing you don't want to do while you're on the front wheels. You want to be smooth on your brake. You don't want to be kind of, you don't want to be all up in the front. You don't want to have the rear tire in there and be doing this. You don't want to do that. Just like a wheelie where you don't want to chop throttle, you don't want to try to chop your brake as well. Alright, anyway, let's break the camera out. Let me show you guys how this looks in third person. Like I show you, I'll just get a little bit of speed right here and I'll roll it just a little bit, just with this little bit. You don't need a whole lot of speed to get that rear tire to come up. If you start to feel like you're going to go over, the best part about it is like this. I'll show you right here. If you start to feel like you're a little too high, just let the brake out. And it will roll forwards again. Also, if you're going to practice stoppies, ideally you're going to be stopping pretty quickly. Do not do this on the street. If you do this on the street and a car rear ends you and hurts you, it is not my fault. I do not assume any responsibility for that. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to comment, subscribe, click the bell icon, watch all the videos on the left side of your screen, and oh God, don't fall over. And as always, guys, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.